Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the 2021 LUCI Asia Urban Lighting Workshop. And I'm your MC, Serena Yoon. Now, can you see me fine? Because I can't see you, because you haven't turned on your cameras yet. So this is now time for you to turn on your camera so we could see all your beautiful smiles and we could communicate better. Okay? So I ask you to please turn on your cameras. Thank you for your cooperation. Good, I see a few more cameras getting turned on. All right. The two-day workshop, which began yesterday under the theme Urban Lighting for People, provided us a feast of exchanges of information, ideas, experiences, and expertise with and among some prominent urban lighting experts and decision makers. As we are about to begin the second and the last day of the event, allow me to give you a brief overview of the program. First, we'll begin with hearing 3 outstanding case studies on urban lighting from the following cities: New York, the United States, Islamabad, Pakistan, and Jinju, Korea. Then we'll watch a video presentation on cultural heritage and lighting, which will be followed by a panel discussion on the culture of light in Asia, taking cases from Korea, Singapore, and Thailand. After that, we will hear 2 more lectures on urban lighting and post-COVID-19 and emotionally durable lighting design. That will be followed by presentations on a few more cities. So let's make sure to stay tuned till the very end with your cameras on. All right, let us now officially begin the second day of the 2021 LUCI Asia Urban Lighting Workshop. First in the program is a presentation of the case studies, of which the first is New York City, the United States of America. Titled Energy Code Compliance and Lighting for NY Buildings, the presentations will be given by Jean Kim, Assistant Chief Plan Examiner of Sustainability at the Department of Buildings of New York City, the United States of America.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from New York City. My name is Jean Kim. I am with the New York City Department of Buildings. It is my pleasure to have this opportunity to speak in this year's LUCI Asia Urban Lighting Workshop. Working for the Office of Sustainability in the New York City Department of Buildings, my current focus is energy code development, communications, and code compliance enforcement for the new building or alteration job applications filed to the department. This afternoon, I would like to offer you a glimpse of how lighting in New York City buildings are prepared for energy code plan exam reviews in the Department of Buildings, and also to present a few high-level views of the New York City's current initiatives for energy conservation and reduction of carbon emission from the buildings. New York City is a city of nearly 1.1 million buildings. The mission of the New York City Department of Buildings is to help provide and maintain this large stock of buildings, not just this tall tower and huge commercial space, but also housing and residential homes of all 5 boroughs in the city. The Department of Buildings, or DOB as we normally call, enforces the city's construction codes, zoning resolution, local laws, and certain New York State laws, such as the New York State Multiple Dwelling Law, to protect the residents and workers in the city. To name a few specific services the DOB provides, they are code compliance review and approval of building plans, issuing construction permits, conducting inspections and audits on construction sites, and monitoring licensing functions in the construction industry, among others. Striking the right balance between public safety and development of the building industries has been the agency's essential focus. Increasingly, the DOB is committed to support the city's aim for sustainability, resiliency, and environmental equity. The NYC and the New York City Energy Conservation Code is a part of the city's extensive construction codes. The 2020 version of the New York City Energy Conservation Code has been developed mainly based upon two model codes. 2020 Energy Conservation Construction Code of New York State and NC-ASHRAE standard NC-ASHRAE IES standard 90.1 of 2016. In addition, provisions of New York Stretch Energy Code of 2020 by NYSERDA. The NYSERDA is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. This New York Stretch Code has been also incorporated into the 2020 NYC ECC by law, and the Stretch Code made certain code requirements more stringent. The origin of these two model codes naturally create two code compliance paths. For commercial buildings to be built or altered in New York City, they may choose either the ECC code path or ASHRAE code path to demonstrate energy code compliance. For residential buildings, though, ASHRAE is not an option. As you could tell from the cover of the code book, this NC ASHRAE IES standard 90.1 2016 is not meant for low-rise residential buildings. So for residential buildings in New York City, must follow the ECC path, which has been developed based on the 2020 Energy Conservation Construction Code of New York State, which has derived from the 2018 IECC. Now I will introduce a few core lighting-related provisions in the 2020 NYC ECC. For residential buildings, the interior lighting power use is regulated by efficacy instead of total wattage. In other words, for 1, 2, or 3 family residential homes or dwelling units within large multifamily commercial buildings, the lamp or luminaire efficacy requirements apply. A minimum of 90% of the proposed lighting fixtures must be specified on drawings to have lamp efficacy of a minimum 65 lumens per watt, or luminaire efficacy of a minimum 45 lumens per watt. During the Energy Code plan exam reviews, we plan examiners at DOB look for lighting fixture schedule, such as this on slide, with efficacy of the lamp or fixture clearly specified. For commercial buildings, the total interior lighting power allowance is determined either by the building area method or space by space method, using the watts per square foot LPD values in the code table. To calculate the proposed total power, there is formula in the code to determine the total connected interior lighting power in the proposed buildings, and this total proposed lighting power should not be greater than the maximum allowance. While calculation of lighting power allowance is pretty straightforward, lighting control requirements are rather complicated and thus require more careful attention. Shown on this slide is table 9.6.1 from ASHRAE 90.1 of 2016 with 2020 NYC CC amendments. These NYC tags on the sidebar indicate these code sections have been amended from the original ASHRAE 90.1 standard of 2016, and we made the requirements more stringent for the 2020 NYC CC. From this table, let's choose a space type and take a look at the specific control requirements. Open plan office areas of less than 300 square feet and the areas of 300 square feet and greater. For both open plan office areas, regardless of the size of the area, local control, bi-level lighting control, and automatic daylight response controls are required. And lights turned off by occupant sensors must be either manual on or partially auto on. So when you see this add one in these two columns, this means either one of the two options must be added. And then there is a difference between these two open plan office areas. I mean, the smaller one, the automatic full off is allowed after 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes of all occupants leaving the area. Whereas for lighting in this larger office areas, automatic off of partial lighting is permitted, mainly because of safety reasons. To help applicants who prepare and submit construction documents to the DOB for energy code compliance review and approval, our office put together a how-to guide reference for supporting documentation and posted in our agency's website for public access. I have borrowed several pages from the guide for your quick overview of the detailed lighting control requirements in the 2020 NYC CC. This page summarizes occupants sensor controls requirement, where they are required, and what specific control functions are needed. And occupant sensor controls for particular spaces listed here, and also for egress illumination. This page discusses time switch controls and light reduction controls. Manual light reduction controls are often called bi-level controls, and that could be achieved by dual switching of alternate rows of luminaires or alternating lamps. Providing continuous dimmer switches and switching of each individual luminaire will offer light reduction controls for more than bi-level. This page lists where the time switch controls are exempt and where light reduction controls are exempt. And this page for daylight responsive controls for site lit zones with definitions. And the next page is for daylight responsive controls for top lit zone. I understand this presentation slide will be available to those who attended in this session. So I will add the web link to this document at the end of the presentation slides. For exterior lighting power also, the maximum allowed exterior lighting power by the code is calculated, and that is used to limit the total proposed exterior lighting power. Exterior lighting control solutions are provided through programmable time clocks, photo sensors, or activity sensors, depending on the outdoor areas and needs. Construction documents submitted for energy code approval must include energy analysis of their choice. There are a few options. Most residential homes submit a simple tabular analysis listing the lamp or luminaire efficacies. Commercial buildings also could use tabular analysis. However, most commercial buildings essentially seeking trade-offs of lighting power among the different proposed spaces choose ComCheck programs. Here are examples of interior lighting and exterior lighting compliance certificates. These programs are available online, and you could also download the programs in your desktop. These compliance verification tools are offered in websites called Building Energy Code Programs, and those websites are supported by the US Department of Energy. Just note that this ComCheck software is used to create separate compliance certificates for the building envelope and building mechanical systems as well. Another energy analysis option for commercial buildings is energy modeling. With energy modeling, buildings could utilize trade-offs for compliance among different building systems, such as the building envelope, building mechanical systems, and lighting systems. For example, a new hotel building project or a large retail space with lighting power usage higher than the code allowed maximum could be paired with the better building envelope or more efficient HVAC systems to keep the total energy cost of the building lower than that of the baseline building. ASHRAE 90.1 standard specifies modeling protocols per Section 11 and Appendix G. And briefly, to talk about what's up and coming in the next energy code updates, currently our office is running a pilot program to test simplified performance-based compliance tools for both interior and exterior lighting, as well as the building envelope and mechanical systems. Let's check the time here briefly, if I'm doing okay. 15 minutes, okay. So I have to hurry up a little bit. So we went over a few highlights of the 2020 NYC CC and how energy code compliance in our city is demonstrated. Last year, New York City was ranked as #1 in 2020 City Clean Energy Scorecard. So we were very thrilled. And this is obviously a result of collective hard work done by many parties in the city. But this was possible partly because of the fact that the Office of Sustainability in the New York City Department of Buildings has the largest energy code enforcement team in the nation. And also we have one of the most stringent energy codes in the nation. In addition to the energy conservation codes, there are New York City local laws that regulate buildings' energy use and greenhouse gas emissions for new developments and existing buildings. Let me just talk about a few local laws very briefly. Local Law 33 of 28, amended by Local Law 95 of 2019, is mandating the building to post this building energy efficiency rating near the public entrance of the building. So they must show the letter grade and the score from the Energy Star. So if they don't post this rating label for those applicable buildings, they will get the penalty of a DOB violation and the fine of $1,250. And the Local Law 97 of 2019 is mandates about buildings' greenhouse gas emission limits and reporting requirements. Per this law, most buildings 25,000 square feet and greater must submit a yearly greenhouse gas emissions report, and their greenhouse gas emissions must not exceed the limits set by the law starting 2024, or they will face a penalty. Talking about greenhouse gas emissions, in New York City, building energy use accounts for almost 75% of greenhouse gas emissions. So this shows the history of our greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. And let me just highlight that last year, year before, with Climate Mobilization Act in 2019, the Mayor de Blasio announced very comprehensive and aggressive climate plans that aim carbon neutrality by 2050. I'd like to close my presentation with this most recent news article that shows the city's strong initiative toward electrification in buildings, shifting away from fossil fuels. Currently, many New York City council members are pushing passage of Intro 2317, which would essentially ban new gas hookups in the city. When or if this legislation is passed, all buildings newly built in 2025 and after in the city must use electricity for heating and cooking. That means no more natural gas fueled boilers or furnaces for space heating and surface water heating. Also, no more gas fueled cooktops starting 2025. Electrification of all new buildings. New York City has a pretty ambitious target in climate actions. So here are some useful links for your later use. With that, I'd like to close my presentation. Thanks again for the invitation from the workshop, and thank you all who attended.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kim, for your informative presentation. And now we will watch a pre-recorded Q&A session for the lecture that we just watched.
So let's jump to the Q&A session. This has to be really quick as I spent too long in the main presentation. The question I received following up on the topic of my presentation is here. I wonder how you promote participation with New York's energy and carbon emission policy in private buildings. Are there any benefits such as an increase in floor area ratio or tax breaks? Or is it because there is already consensus on environmental issues leading to voluntary participation? If that is the case, what policies have been implemented to form such consensus? This is a great question, and one of the frequent questions we get from the public and from other municipalities as well. The answer to the first question here is yes and yes. So we have a zone green wall deduction, an incentive related to floor area based on the New York City zoning resolution. Deduction of partial exterior wall thickness in the total floor area calculations of the building is allowed for buildings with superior thermal performance in exterior walls. I have included the zoning resolution section on the following page for your later reference. And there are other incentives such as tax abatement, financial funding opportunity, and other advisory and practical support available through various city and state levels. One example is the Green Roof Tax Abatement Program. With the enforcement of Local Law 92 and 94 for sustainable roofing zone, enhanced tax abatement of $15 per square foot for installation of green roof is offered to priority community district, which are shown here with the green tints on the map. And standard tax abatement of $5.23 per square foot is offered to all other community districts. Another quick example is PACE financing. This is for the city to provide long-term, low-interest, low-cost funding to qualified retrofit projects. This is to promote building owners, property owners to upgrade their buildings for energy efficiency improvements and renewable energy installations. So this was the zoning resolution section about floor area. And I included this page just to show how an interest group engages in the city's legislation process, because the question included if there is a consensus already there and things like that. So consensus building in climate actions is arduous process and essential part of our endeavors to combat climate change. So this concludes my presentation today. Thank you very much for everyone who attended, for listening.
Yes, thank you very much, Jean.